Here's more wrestling news for January 28th, 2023, and we're starting off with Sami Zayn, and a year ago, the idea that he would be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns seemed laughable, but a lot can change in 12 months. With tensions boiling over in the bloodline and Zayn getting more popular with each passing show, a growing number of fans and wrestlers believe that this is the honorary Usos' time to shine. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer discussed this possibility, saying that it is perfectly possible that Sami could win the title, and personally, he's hoping that happens. Sami could soon be champion, but Meltzer added that Zayn is not seen as a face of the company, and that Triple H and Vince McMahon do not see him as the face of the company. WWE may not make Zayn the face of the company, but they could still make him champion, as many have compared his popularity to Kofi Mania in 2019. WWE's face of the company has always had a certain look, from Bruno to Hogan to Austin to Cena and now to Reigns, and don't expect Sami Zayn to join that elite list of wrestlers. In July 2021, WWE shocked everyone when they released Bray Wyatt, perhaps the company's most popular star at the time. This release came 3 months after his controversial loss to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37, and now Bray has opened up about how his life was unraveling at the time. Speaking with Ryan Satin on Out of Character, Wyatt spoke about losing himself at the time of his release from WWE. "There was so much going on, and it was out of nowhere. I wasn't prepared for any of that. I lost my childhood best friend, I lost Brody Lee, I lost my best friend from college, Mark Olive. It was something that I think I didn't deal with very well. Brody's wife Amanda and his kids dealt with it better than me and Eric Rowan did. There is something there that reminds me of him every single day. That time period was such a conundrum for me, and I wasn't myself. It took me a while to remember what makes me, me. It was a long journey, but it's led me here to this moment. This is the best I've ever felt." Wyatt is thankfully in a much better place mentally and is being treated better on WWE TV, with the former Universal Champion being granted plenty of time to get his latest character across. Tonight, Wyatt will have his first televised match back with WWE when he faces LA Knight in a pitch black match, and after the backlash to his loss at WrestleMania 37, don't expect WWE to make the same mistake this time. Over to Smackdown next, as Lacey Evans was on this week's show with her latest gimmick that is based in her Marine roots. On the show, Evans finished off a local competitor with a Cobra Clutch, the move famously used by Sergeant Slaughter, but who was the one losing to the move? For those wondering, Evans' opponent was Jasmine Allure, a 22-year-old wrestler who has appeared for AEW and on WWE Main Event in the past. More recently, Allure has appeared for WOW Women of Wrestling, and with 3 notable promotions to her name, the future looks bright for Jasmine despite her loss this week. Evans certainly looked dominant in her match with Allure, but while winning with the Cobra Clutch is notable, it's not the only talking point from this match. Instead, many fans picked up on Evans' wardrobe malfunction during the match, as her boot came apart during the contest. To her credit, Evans improvised and tried to use the broken boot part as a weapon against her opponent in a spot plenty of fans found hilarious. On Twitter, fans reacted to this wardrobe malfunction, which many found funny, with one wrestler saying that Evans must be cursed. We don't know if Evans is cursed, but we know she lost her soul on this week's SmackDown, and hopefully she'll avoid such similar embarrassing situations going forward. For fans of AEW's Wardlow, they haven't seen the former TNT champion in quite some time, with today marking a month exactly since his most recent match. Wardlow hasn't been seen since losing to Samoa Joe, and it turns out that Mr. Mayhem is out with an injury. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's made clear that the angle where Joe took out his leg was to write Wardlow off TV, but this injury won't keep him out of action for long. With AEW Revolution getting nearer, hopefully Wardlow will be back in time for that show, and we're wishing him a speedy recovery. This week's Raw was a celebration of 3 decades of the Red brand, but the show earned considerable backlash for their treatment of women. Not only was there very little acknowledgement of the female legends of WWE's past, but the much-promoted steel cage match between Bayley and Becky Lynch was essentially scrapped due to time constraints. Since the trial of Sami Zayn went long, the decision was made to turn what had been planned to be a lengthy cage match into a 2-minute angle, but when speaking to BT Sport, Bayley was pleased with how things went. "How did I feel with the outcome of it? It felt good. Honestly, I think it put our story in a whole different place. and I think it did that a lot for damage control. So I'm super happy with it. I did, yeah, responding to upset fans, which is cool, you know? They have our backs and stuff. I don't want them to think that women's wrestling is moving backwards or we're not seen in the same light of Roman Reigns or anybody like that. We're very appreciated backstage, we're treated super well, and we are a big part of conversations when it comes to big stories and big matches. Whether WWE has this cage match in full down the line, who's to say, but this week's Raw did WWE no favors when it comes to the treatment of women's wrestling. When fans see Luchasaurus on TV, it's hard to mistake him for any other wrestler thanks to his unique mask. Luchasaurus has worn a green mask and a black mask during his time in AEW, but now his choice of headwear could get him and the company in serious trouble. It was reported this week that a lawsuit has been filed against AEW and Luchasaurus, real name Austin Madelson, claiming that the mask is copyrighted material being used without the owner's permission. The owner of said copyright is Composite Effects, who claim that while they allowed Madelson to use the mask as a wrestler, they did not allow him to use it for merchandising. In their filing with the U.S. District Court in the Eastern District of Louisiana, they showed proof of the mask being used on t-shirts as well as action figures depicting the AEW wrestler. Composite claims it wrote messages throughout 2002 asking AEW to stop or at least come to a deal with them, but they didn't hear a response from Tony Khan. Now AEW and Luchasaurus will have no choice but to deal with this lawsuit, and we'll keep following this case as more details come out. Whether fans like Brock Lesnar or they don't, it's impossible to ignore his success, as the man has earned a fortune from WWE with just a handful of matches a year. During his 2 stints in WWE, the Beast has been one of the strongest booked superstars ever, but Lesnar is willing to give back to others. It was in 2020 that Drew McIntyre dethroned Lesnar to win the WWE Championship, and speaking on his Foley is Pod show, Mick Foley recalled a bit of advice shared by Brock to the Scotsman. He brought up that when he and Brock first got together, Brock was like, and this shows you the wisdom of Brock Lesnar, he was like, you have to stop bumping for everyone, because you get caught up in that idea of having a great match every time, and you forget that you're trying to build a character at the same time. McIntyre is no stranger to success himself, but it can't compare to what Lesnar has done throughout his career, and the Scottish Warrior would be wise to listen to the beast he slayed at WrestleMania 36. And we're ending today with Kylie Ray, and it was just a few years ago that she was a big name in Impact, but parted the company in shocking manner after refusing to appear for their biggest annual event, Bound for Glory. Kylie stepped away from Impact and later wrestling entirely due to her mental health, and has now apologized to those in Impact for what happened. Speaking on the Going Broadway podcast, Ray said she's apologized individually to a lot of people in Impact, only to be told time and time again that an apology isn't needed, and it was her mental health that comes first. Kylie Ray recently had a tryout for WWE and even made it onto Main Event, but is yet to receive a deal. And while she admits that she could have handled things better with Impact, the young wrestler is pleased to have made amends.